This is about leadership, and I'm not much interested in leadership. I believe that the word is a fake word for a fake phenomena, mostly in Western and Anglo cultures, but also in East Asian cultures in a different way. Um, Epiphenomena of male hormones driving monkeys to want to be on top of other monkeys. Um, and 99% of my personal experience of leadership is a purely hormonal desire of one monkey to be on top of other monkeys, and not for any particular reason other than to be on top. Or when my students say they want to be a leader, and it's almost always male students, never female, and I ask them, where? They don't understand the question. Well, I say, well, you want to lead people where? And they have no place they want to go, but they want to lead people, but nowhere. So they just mean their hormones make them want to be on top of other people for no point, just to be on top for no other reason than they're driven by their hormones. Their brains are small and their hormones are bigger. And so they spend their whole lives following their hormones because their brain is too small to counteract their hormones. Now, you've seen Ross Perot and other midget CEOs, and it's really clear, and they can make excuses, but they had a bad time on the playground in elementary school, and it made them bitter and resentful, and they need billions of dollars and obvious control over other people later in life in order to feel unbitter or less bitter, or that the bitterness was worth something. So, 99% of the leaders, 99% of the word leadership, and 90% of the 99.99% of the Harvard courses, Stanford courses on leadership are crap, fake, from the beginning fake. But there's a market for this crap, and so professors want to make money, and they generate something that'll sell. Not only that, but I've actually measured the amount of directedness at all parts of the large workforce, actually for several large global corporations. There is almost no directedness delivered to any employee in any below the level of direct report to VP in any of these companies. There's just zero leading going on, and then all these books and topics, and you have these conferences and companies on leadership, and everybody be a leader. Well, if I have 5,000 people and 4,999 of them are leaders, it's going to be a porcupine of chaos. Everybody going in different directions, nobody pulling together, everybody busy leading the others. So this whole idea of just bandying the word about all the time, every day, in every meeting is some sort of a male hormone dance. It's just anthropologically like people putting funny feathers around their waist and their head and jumping up and down on the ground. It's pretty, it's cute, it has no meaning or direction, and it's self-contradictory, and it's a fake. But everybody has a culture, and this is the culture of that Harvard generates. So let's look at something a little bit more real than that crap. First of all, then, to realize that there is a thing called real leading and real directedness, and you can measure it. There's 64 basic functions that generate directedness. And I've actually interviewed 150 top leaders and 150 people who said they were greatly led for exactly what was delivered to them. And we have 64 basic functions delivered to them. And once you have a definition of what directedness is, and when it's delivered effectively to people, then you can see whether some particular leadership system is actually delivering directedness to people or not. And when I measure it, I find, zero, just none in any big company I've been to. And I've been to some of the best in the world. So that's the beginning, that no leading is going on. And yet there's this giant noise talking about leaders. And these people we call leaders who are doing no leading at all. When you measure it, they're not leading at all. They are not leading. They are delivering zero leadership and directedness to any other people. They are doing a dance. They put funny, pretty feathers in their hat and on their waist and their loincloth, and they jump up and down and make noises, but it's not delivering directedness anywhere. It's fake leading, and that's 99% of what we have. I think actually it's 99.99999% of what we have. Number two, I've got a course on stories of successful deliverer of directedness to a group of people. And this is remarkable because most of it's not business, or it's the creation of a business from nothing as the emergence of directedness from a set of conversations. And this directedness is never generated by a leader man. Apparently, men pretending to be leader shuts down directedness rather than increases it. So leaders are actually the opposite of what generates leadership. God really is smart and has his own sense of humor, or her own sense of humor, or its own sense of humor. Then I've got another course on neurotic great man leader monkeyisms. If you look at history, it's filled with great men. Alexander the Great, Napoleon. Most of them are mass killers. So I had my students at the University of Chicago go through 20 required history texts from top school systems in America, elite school systems, and then go through top history books from elite colleges and circle all the people called great in these books. 88% of the people called great in these books were mass killers. Now let me ask you, what kind of society and people would choose as their primary illustration of greatness mass killers? What does that say about who's choosing these books and writing them? How deluded and sick the societies are that we grow up in. It's incredible. I mean, in a society that sick, the fact that all the leaders we have aren't generating any leadership or directedness shouldn't be a surprise. It should be common sense. Performance cultures. Performances that you do on different size scales from a team, teams of teams, teams of teams of teams, whole organizations. We are asked to perform, and there's always been a conflict between numbers performing, meeting a number, which is utterly trivial. All you have to do is beat the hell out of and abuse all the other numbers for the sake of the one number you're required to meet. And men learn that trick very early in life, and you can always do it. Always you can meet your numbers. All you have to do is steal stuff from the future and ruin capability everywhere, and boom, get your number and be praised and promoted for it. CEOs have made a mastery of this, getting their numbers, taking their bonus, and the whole company falls apart when they leave. So that's one kind of performance, numbers performance. And then there's a performance of generating a feeling among people that they are led, even when you're not delivering any directedness or leadership functions to them. James March researched this at Stanford 20 years ago, and he found that leaders were people who generated a feeling that I'm being led without really requiring me to go anywhere. And that was ideal from the worker point of view because I don't have to change anything, I don't have to do anything, but I feel like I'm going somewhere. That's a great leader. Then there's translating leadership across cultures. And leadership generally does not translate across cultures. You look like a leader in this context, you look like an arrogant, mentally sick buffoon in this other context. American fathers and ordinary bosses, seen on television movies and for 50 years of Hollywood, horrify generations of Japanese and Chinese at the dictatorial, narcissistic, psychopathic nature of American men at all levels. Father knows best, leave it to Beaver. These are monsters. And Americans have this monstrous default image what leading is. That is just a mental set of mentally ill people. And then East Asia doesn't want any part of that. They don't admire that. They don't want it. They don't want that crap coming over and ruining their culture. And one reason China and Japan resist foreign company intrusion is not the products are a problem and not the making money is a problem. They don't want vile, ugly, barbaric men running around their society mistreating people. They have higher standards of fatherhood. They have this norm of gentleness between people. They have this norm that leaders teach everything they know, not some of what they know, everything they know to hundreds of people a year. And to find American leaders and Dutch leaders and French and German leaders who teach nothing to anybody and hoard information for their own power, and then abuse people about why you didn't reach performance goals when I shared nothing with you, and then bring none of the person to work and ask people to be professional robots and not be a person, not have emotions, not get angry when they're cheated or lied to. This is some sort of sick psychopathic game that the Americans, the Dutch, the Germans call leadership. And East Asians don't want to have any part of that. They lack leadership. They don't share information. They're paranoid about competing with their own people. It's a brutal, ugly, barbaric society. And East Asia is more civilized than that. They don't want any of that crap. And I don't blame them. I don't like it either. Leaders as solution cultures. Actual leading functioning, not leaders as people. the actual function of leading is often the portrayal of a failure culture. We are not reaching our main goal because everything that we are goes in the opposite direction. That's the failure culture. Then we reverse everything in that culture to get the solution culture, and we implement that. Now, that was total quality in Japan, applied in Japan. It was a totally non-Japanese, anti-Japanese management culture applied in Japan to change ordinary Japanese management and therefore create quality. It was so successful, it created 11 industries that dominated in Japan and then went around the world and wiped out competitors all over the world in the 1970s and 80s. And it was an anti-culture implemented by Japanese on themselves to change their own culture. And nobody gives them credit for that. And the stupid guys at Harvard called it lean this and lean that to turn it into some little analytic technique that Americans are good at. And they just left the culture part of it out. God help you if you ever try to be an American and attack American culture as sick. Everybody would deny it. But the Japanese in 1950 were willing to meet their parts of Japanese culture that were sick and needed to be fundamentally changed. They invented total quality culture to change it, and you got to give them credit for that. They have more guts and courage than the Americans by far. Total engagement leading. And the reason employees are not engaged is executives are not engaged. And they're not engaged in the psychopathic Anglo-Western Descartesian sense, hoarding information, competing with their own underlings, never sharing anything, bitching when performance isn't good after you give no resources, inviting only 1/10 of a person to work, forbidding the other 90% come to work. Everything should be professional, non-emotional, non-personal. It's some kind of mentally ill psychopath's idea of a workplace. Now, in Asia, you have this idea that all social organizations are full human communities that people pass their lives in, and therefore they have to have love, emotion, care, laughter, drinking, birthdays, celebrations. They have to be full communities. And it's very empowering. You end up with terrific dedication, yaruki, from young Japanese employees, completely unmatched in any Western organization whatsoever. Not a single, not Nordstrom, not anybody in the West comes close to what you get from recruit 25-year-old employees in Japan. Recruit's the name of a company, it's not a function. That's the beginning of the talk on leadership. There will be several other sections of this.